From USA Today, anti-gay protesters shout about Sodom and Gomorrah at Pete Buttigieg rally in Iowa. So this one's kind of close to home. Obviously, we've said before that we're from Iowa. So he came to do a campaign rally for his presidential campaign, and of course, it had to be here. Some people in the crowd started shouting about Sodom and Gomorrah and other such biblical nonsense. One of the protesters that they point out in the article in particular, I didn't feel like he deserved to be named, so asshole started yelling about anti-abortion rhetoric and you're a baby killer and a sodomite and so on. And of course, that guy's from out of state. But there were other people there that were not out of state. They just singled out this guy because he's a known asshole from some other, abortion league. So when he was doing this thing, fortunately, other people were shouting him down and cheering over him. But of course, there were times where, Mayor Pete's up there trying to talk and somebody's shouting out biblical crap and garbage. All because he's gay. He wants to be the first gay president in America. And I personally am not going to support Pete, but I think his response was interesting. When people were shouting things out, he said, "The good news is the condition of my soul is in the hands of God, but the Iowa caucuses are up to you." He's known for saying some things like that. He was in an argument with Pence last week or the week before, and essentially they were arguing because Bootyjudge claims that he's a Christian, and of course Pence doesn't like that because it's demeaning to Christianity that gays are Christians too. So it's all kind of conflated. My big issue ultimately with all of it is that I don't really think, of course, that this biblical rhetoric, all this religious garbage has any place in politics. We all know that the church and state separation is a joke. It's never been upheld or meaningful in any real way. So it's just, I was just disgusted to see it happened close to home. It happened to be just a bunch of anti-gay assholes. And even though I don't support him, I liked his response to the extent that, it sort of throws their garbage back at them. And then he just moves on. What do you think about his response?
I just don't care about what he said. I also just don't care that he's gay. I think in Iowa, it would have been more notable if idiots with Bible verses in hand had not shown up. If the news story had read, gay political candidate has rally in Iowa with 0 interruptions from neocons or anti-abortion activists, or you know what I mean? If that was the headline, I'd be like, oh, really? In Iowa?
That was a surprise.
In Iowa, there were no idiots with 2 brain cells showed up? We're moving up. That would be my response. But
yeah, I guess I'm not terribly surprised. It's just unfortunate because I like to think that I like to pretend anyhow that we're surrounded by better people than that. And it's just unfortunate because it's like I said, it's so close to home. I will say, as far as the response goes, the things that he said, ultimately, I think it was kind of cowardice. Even though I think it was classy at the time, it makes sense because it's kind of, it doesn't really acknowledge it. He should have just been like, yeah, your beliefs are trash, and I don't agree with that, so get out. Instead, he's just consistently proving himself to be kind of a middle-of-the-road, maybe left-leaning centrist. He's presented himself as a liberal, as a Democrat, but he's a Harvard grad, he's a military vet, he's all these other gross things that are going to appeal to the right, and most of his opinions aren't progressive. They're just kind of blasé-faire, middle of the road.
Yeah, there's a couple things I'll say on that score. The studies that I've seen, a couple of them even this year, I think. I'm not going to go and find all the studies. You can do your own research, but I think it's fair to say that enough studies have been done now where they just take students from no-name colleges in random parts of the country and send them to Harvard, and normally those kids do just fine or they crush. And so the idea that Harvard is elite is ridiculous anymore. It's not. It's just a money institution. And it's true that they still have the purchasing power to hire amazing professors, but does that equal better education? I.e., just because somebody is an amazing researcher, does that mean they're an amazing lecturer and that they're going to be able to get... So there's a huge thing that can be discussed about Harvard. And then his military background is, that's a disqualifier for me. Unless you got drafted, like if you signed up to be a part of a murder squad, I'm not voting for you. Sorry, bro. And he comes off to me as just a guy who he's pretending that he's walking into the room and just being like, yep, I'm gay and you have to deal with it. But it's not. It's sort of a more pandering. He comes off to me as capitalizing on that trait in a way that is not, at the very least, it's not interesting to me. So it doesn't make me care about him as a candidate. But at worst, it comes off as a little bit disingenuous. In the same way that, like, Tulsi Gabbard, every time she talks to anybody, she makes a point. If they say, how are you today? She stops and goes, aloha. And it's like, okay, you're from Hawaii. They say aloha. We get it. We don't care. Shut the fuck up. Right? Am I wrong here?
No, I don't think so.
It's the same thing as this. I was a bartender and ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't buy it. Stop pandering. Tell me your policy and what you're going to do with the power that you want. And win or lose on that. That is something that is being brought up often in, leftist YouTube personalities, so on and so forth, is there's a very large segment of the left that does not realize that the new rising is not the same as this pandery 1990s style rhetorical garbage that a lot of these candidates are. It's not going to work anymore. It's not going to convince voters. I don't think most voters of our age or younger. We don't want to hear aloha. We don't want to hear, yeah, I'm gay, but my policy sucks. And we don't want to hear the standard Joe Biden rhetoric of, well, I want you to have access to health care, which effectively means I don't care if you get bankrupted, destroyed, and denied service, and then die. So, nope, I won't be supporting Bootyjudge.
Yeah. And I think, for me, the other gross thing about it, I think it's interesting you pointed to Tulsi, because for him, it's not as though, like, the media are focusing on, like, oh, he's a gay candidate. Like, he made it an issue.
No, every speech that he does, he does everything except stand there and go, now, you remember I'm gay, right? Now, I'll let you know again in about 30 seconds, but did I tell you I was gay? Oh, let me talk about my husband. I'm gay. Did you know I was gay?
Yeah.
And
that's my problem. It's like, if it was just the media that was like, oh, and he wants to be a gay candidate, and he kept and if there were interviews of him where they were saying things like, oh, well, tell us about what it's like to be a gay candidate, and he was just like, really? Like,
yeah, couldn't he answer that by just saying, yeah, let me tell you all. Oh, I'm sorry, I fell asleep, because who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Right?
It's 2019. Like, I don't care who's putting what in whose ass. Like, I care, like, what are you going to put in my ass?
What are you going to put in policy? I think we're done here. Play the fucking music.